Hi, I'm Claire Louise and I'm a theatrical wardrobe mistress working in the West End of London. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some of my tips and tricks on how to get the best out of clothing repairs and alterations. In this video I'm going to show you how to alter the waist of a pair of trousers. These trousers have already been fitted and I know that I want to take this much out of the waistband. The first thing I'm going to do, the pins are going through both layers, is I'm just lightly making a mark so the pin is just through a single layer of fabric. I'm going to be taking this alteration out on the same amount on either side, so I only need one side of the fabric to be marked. So now my seam is open again, and then I'm going to turn it to the inside, and I need to unpick all of the stitching that holds this waistband down so that we can get inside and get this whole thing adjusted neatly. I've already unpicked this for speed, but there's a little row of stitching that just sits in there. And once you've unpicked that, then you've got a nice flat area and you can really get inside your waistband. I just caught my seam allowance there. So the next thing I'm going to do is just give myself a chalk line marking where those pins are. And this is just a rough chalk line. The next thing I'm going to do, so that it's easy to access this seam, I'm going to pass my hand through one leg of the trousers and grab the hem of the other leg. And this feels a bit counterintuitive. And then I'm going to pull them together so the two legs of my trousers are now inside each other. What this has done is it's opened out the seam and it makes it much easier for me to stitch it. And now I'm going to much more carefully mark this new line. So I want to guide the line towards my original stitching. And I want to take the same amount all the way up through this waistband at the top. And now I'm just going to pin. And you need to have opened up enough stitching that you can easily get right the way through this layer. And now I'm going to take this to the sewing machine. So I'm starting my machining just a little bit past where the original stitching was. I haven't unpicked any of the stitching before I do my new row, and this helps keep the two layers exactly together. And a little tip for stitching a curved seam is to have a very slight zigzag on it, and that allows it to stretch because this is actually a curve, and if it doesn't stretch, often the seams will split, which is why your trousers get holes in the seat. And I'm just going to do a little bit of reversing to start. Always start sewing clothes with some reversing because you don't want it to unravel as you wear it. And if you're comfortable sewing over pins, that's absolutely fine. The tricky bit is when you get to the top because we've got this sort of folded over layer, so I'm going slowly and just taking that nice and easy. And I'm using my thumb of my left hand just to make sure that's all smooth underneath there. And again, a little bit of reversing at the top. I'm now going to unpick some of this and trim this down and then press the seam open. I'm just taking my pins out. It's good to keep quite a bit of seam allowance in the centre back because you may decide you want to let these trousers back out again in the future. Don't cut everything away. And I do the trimming before I do the unpicking because often it saves me having to do too much unpicking. want to get that seam nice and open. Now a centre back seam on trousers must be open, or it won't sit flat. And then I've just got a little bit of unpicking to do in the original stitching just here. Now you can see that we've got a raw edge and that's fraying, so we do need to put a finish on this edge. So we're just going to run up the two sides and zigzag over that raw edge. Using a zigzag on the machine is a perfect way of finishing off your garments at home. You don't need to invest in an overlocker. So now I'm going to take the leg that I tucked inside out, and then I'm going to press this seam open. I then fold over that top edge, and I need to replace that original stitching that I unpicked to get inside. This technique is often called stitching a ditch, and there's a row of stitching really close to the fold that you really can't see. Obviously you're going to see mine because it's orange, but if I stitch this in black, all of this would be invisible. And I'm just lining my needle up right next to my fold. So my waistband's now secure. My trousers are 1.5 inches smaller, and if that was black stitching, that would be invisible. And that's how you alter a pair of trousers.